Thank you for being with us today at the Choose From Store 2021. We have moved completely online for this edition. Welcome also to the first webinar we have scheduled for our viewers today. The topic is Art and Design Studies in France. I'm Saurabh Bhaumik, Campus France Manager for Kolkata and your host for this session, alongside my colleague Mr. Amitabh Das, University Cooperation Officer at the Consulate of France in Kolkata. Joining us today on the panel.
Good evening, everyone.
Joining us today on the panel for this very special webinar is Mr. Theo Veloc, Executive Assistant at Spéos Photography School.
Good evening, Theo.
Mr. Roland Decardin, Director of EESAB, the European Academy of Arts in Brittany, Site de Lorient.
Good evening.
And we will shortly be joined by Mr. Yannick Tremblay, who is the Responsable du Développement at EICAR, the International Film and Television School in Paris. In the interest of time, we will jump straight to the question for our panelists. But before that, I just want to mention that all the schools present in our webinars today are present on the virtual show floor as well. So if after the webinar, you would like to have a one-on-one counseling session with the schools present here, please look them up and you can connect with them via our site today and tomorrow. We start with Mr. Veloc. Mr. Veloc, thank you for being present with us today. For our audience, I would request you to present a short introduction to Spéos.
Yes, so Spéos is a professional photo school based in Paris and in London. So we've got two campuses and we offer courses in French or in English. And we give our programs in 5 months, 1 year, up to 2 years as well. We are ranked in the top 5 of the best photo school in the world. And we do offers it's a professional school which offer programs in 1 year or 2 years, general programs, as in photo reportage and photography in the studio as well. So as the end of the training, students can work in the 2 fields and 2 areas.
Amitabh, do you have any questions for
Yes,
our...
I would like to ask him a very specific question, Mr. Veloc. I understand Spéos offers master's courses in photography, but also specialized short courses in photojournalism as well. So this is really intriguing. Why is it that Spéos has decided to specialize in this branch, and how relevant do you think this is to the next generation of photographers?
Actually, we train photographers in our general programs to fulfill all kinds of different types of photography. But also we've got a specialized program, both in photojournalism, but also in fashion photography and in sport photography. It's useful for photographers which have already an experience in photography and who wants to specialize or be more relevant in that area of photography, but also people who are focusing on succeed a career in photojournalism or photo reportage. Actually, a work study for the French ministry, the work French ministry, show us that 20% of people who are working in photography used to work in the social area of photography, and so we have a lot of training comprising storytelling, lighting for photographers, and also visual identity. That's all of our students can have at the school, and which they practice. We are actually focusing on hands-on practice, so they are taking pictures with professional photographers, which are really used to the market and which are professional photographers on the side, but only teach on our school. Is that answering your question?
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Saurav, you have anything to add?
Yes, yes. Sorry, my microphone is giving a little bit of trouble. That's very interesting. For a lot of people working in photojournalism today are self-trained to an extent. To what degree can such professionals benefit from the history and resources that you have at Spéos?
Yeah, actually, they do practice photography by themselves, taking pictures outside using their camera or using natural light, but they don't have proper training to transform and take pictures. And actually, everybody can take a good pictures by chance today, or um, with his cell phone or anything like this. But actually, what we are training our students at the school is how to uh, develop and tell a story throughout a series of pictures, and really helps them in, as I was saying, with storytelling classes, and also um, visual identity, so that they have a photographic eye, which is um, to the extent of the professional area of photography and the photographic market.
Thank you, Mr. Bullock. Just for our viewers today, we have also been joined by our third panelist of the day, Mr. Yannick Tremblay. Mr.
Hi.
Yannick,
Yeah,
hello, can you hear me fine?
yeah, sorry for being late. I was in
No, no problem at all. We just began. And Mr. Yannick, for our viewers, is the Responsable du Développement at EICAR, which is the International Film and Television School in Paris.
Yeah, nice to meet you all. Sorry for being late. I was in
No,
Indonesia right before, so I had to run and take my flight to be on time. Sorry.
no problem at all. So we'll quickly move on to Mr. Decardin of the European Academy of Arts in Brittany, and we'll return to Mr. Yannick right after this. Mr. Decardin, EESAB as a school has been established in 2010, and you're present across 4 locations in France. Do you see your fairly new beginnings as a strength in this very competitive European art scene?
Yes, indeed. As a matter of fact, we are the result of a fusion between 4 very old schools in France, meaning the École des Beaux-Arts de Rennes, which was founded in 1795, which is quite 200 years, more than 200 years old. And the youngest one is Lorient School, which was founded in 1961. But those 4 schools just got together in 2010 to make one school in our region, which is Brittany, Western France. And this is a kind of strength, because we are 4 schools and making one large school, the largest art school in France, with 800 students, which is quite small for at the Indian scale, but very large at the French scale. And what is very good in this union, that we've got a very broad panel of courses in the fine arts, and we are working all together to have authors. The main subject of our study in the art schools, public art schools in France, is the question of authors. How do you produce original shapes, original pictures, original sculptures, volumes, installations, so on.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dikoda. I'm going to ask you a very specific question, and I guess this can be relevant for the target audience as well. So what I noticed from the partner institutions that you have, that you are also a very outward-looking art school. Could you please elaborate on this for our audience, how important a global perspective might be to their formation?
Yes, of course, I'll try to. And this is quite an interesting thing because what we think is that an art school with just is not a place only to produce art for art, but also art for society and art for the people and so on. So we are very involved in many projects with partners like art centers, but also social centers and schools and educational institution or like prisons or jails, sorry, and so on, and enterprises, also industries. And what we want to do is just say that there is no frontier for arts, and it's useful in all the domains of human activities. So this is very important for us to have links with all those parts of society and to help our students to work where they have to, where they want to. There is one thing very important maybe to know about our schools, École des Beaux-Arts in France, is that we are not like you heard about Spéos and so on, profession oriented. We are, there is a broad spectrum of jobs you can have after the school, but what we emphasize is the question of the authors, the specificity, the originality of what you do when you are at school.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dikoda. I think your answer is very clear, and it will surely benefit all the students, those who are attending the session today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Over to
Speaking to that, a more general question now: how much has the COVID-19 pandemic affected your school? Like both in terms of the creative output that you have mentioned, both for society and for art's sake. So how much has that been affected? And also, how have you adjusted to the practical aspects? Like how is teaching functioning for the moment?
Okay, so we had some luck in this because first of all, Western France is the less impacted by the epidemic, and but that's not why. We two things, because we tried new ways of teaching with our students, with this thing, Zoom and all the other softwares like that, and it was very new for our teachers because our teaching in the art schools are very practical. The courses we have many, everything is learned by doing. So and we had this special authorization to continue the practical activity with students. We had small groups and so on, but we were able to maintain students at the school. So we didn't lose the link with students, which was very important for us. And the results, we are very proud of the results, because what we saw, we had those sessions of assessment 2 weeks ago, and the results for the students were rather good, quite better than we had before. So we are very proud to be able to adapt to this special condition of art teaching. It was very difficult because, as you might know, art teaching has to be has a lot to do with presence and feeling things.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
It's
I hope it answers to your questions.
I'm
kind
very
of the
pleased
same
to hear.
here.
Yes, please.
It's kind of the same as Mr. Decardin was saying at Spéos, because we are in Paris, but as we are a professional center, we do open classes both in virtual room and also in the school. So students keep coming at the school, but for students which are feeling sick or which are a bit delayed by the transportation or anything, we do have also adapt and also offer classes in virtual as well.
Dr. Tremblay, how about your institute? Has it been much of the same, or have you faced it?
Well,
Or
as mentioned, as we are a practical and technical school, we were allowed to continue in the teaching directly in school. For sure, we adapt ourselves to the sanitary condition with a smaller group, and we change our way to produce and teach. But more or less, they can keep going to the school, and we never stop. Yeah, through the time and to the sanitary conditions. So we have some strict condition with gel, with mask, with well, many strict condition, but we were allowed to pursue and to continue the teaching class for the technical part, because it's impossible to learn how to use a camera, how to use well, film material without touching it. So probably the same with Spéos, with photo and everything. So we were allowed to we never lost the link with the students. Yeah, which is really important.
thank you. Our final yes.
Yes, Saurav, you want to say something? Please
No,
continue.
no, no, please go ahead.
Okay, so Dr. Tremblay, I suppose media production is one area where the links with the industry must always remain strong. So to what extent can students at EICAR expect mentorship or collaborative projects with their established counterparts? That is, how closely do you work with media houses in France?
Well, as you may know, we never watch images in television than right now. So there's a huge demand for television and image right now. So we've been created 50 years ago. So we have a strong link with the industry. So we are working with national television, with some famous radio station as well. So Energy, so TF1, which is TF1 and the national television as well. It's really important. It's learning by doing. So it's important for us and for the students to apply what they learn in class in the real life situation. So, and as I mentioned, we've been created 50 years ago. So we have a strong relationship with the industry. So our students are able to find internship easily. Our graduated students are finding job. 86% of our students are finding job right after graduation, which is a really high rates of integration after graduation. And we have a dedicated service to help them to find job, to find internship during their studies. So it's, well, learning by doing. So it's really important for us, and we are helping the students, and we are doing international program for 20 years right now. So we were pioneer by offering English programs in France 20 years ago. So during 20 years, we developed an international linkage as well. So our alumni students, when they are going back to India, because India is one of our strongest market for students. So we have many Indian students at the school. So when they are going back to India, to Indonesia, to China, or whatever, so they are the best ambassadors for us. So this is important, taking care of them and help them to integrate to integrate the industry right after. And yeah, as I mentioned, we never watch so much many movies, series, Netflix, YouTube. So it's, and even the corporate industry have to develop new way to get in touch with people. So even us today, we are working, we're doing online. So we have to adapt ourselves to the new conditions. So we are doing online fair right now instead of flying to India. So the company have to develop a corporate movie and corporate films. So many of our students are refusing jobs because there's so too many demands for them. So yeah, so sorry for taking a lot of time.
Okay, so Dr. Tremblay, so what I have understood that EICAR is actually very well connected with the industry, and for students, it won't be difficult to get internship, and it's not going to be a theoretical education, but they will also get a practical approach. That's right. If I'm not.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
you understand very well, and as I mean, yeah, it's very important.
Okay.
Last
Thank
year,
you very much.
you're
Thank you
welcome.
very much, sir.
You're welcome.
For our viewers who have just joined, that was Mr. Yannick Tremblay, who is the development head at EICAR, the renowned film and television school in Paris. Speaking of the fact that, first of all, thank you for mentioning that you put, how shall I say, that India is one of your strongest markets, and that students are, how shall I, very able to get good positions within the industry after graduating. But this actually also brings me to my second question, which is a very pertinent and contemporary question. How is the industry as a general adapting to this new normal? Like with the pandemic restrictions, like media consumption has shot through the roof, right? So as we mentioned, so how are they able to, for example, create sustainable workflows?
Well, the creative industries were the first to rise up and adapt to the new health measures. So it's a new investment, new way of working. With the new technology right now, we can do digital movie. We can have two people on the same scene on the same time, but not together. I don't know if you got the point, but there's a many new technology, and the creative industries were economically very important in every country. So Bollywood in India and everything. So we adapt our way with many digital way of working, and Netflix, for example, invests $8 billion this year, and 10 years ago it was 1 billion only, well, which is a lot, but yeah, the digital innovation as well. So we have to adapt ourselves. The industry switched very quickly to the new situation, and we have many series, many movies week after week. So well, I think the film industry and the audiovisual industry were able to switch very quickly and adapt themselves to the new situation. Yeah, so
Thank you. My last question really, because we are almost nearing the end of this particular session, my last question really is to the entire panel. Mr. Roland, Mr. Theo, and Mr. Yannick, the challenge for students, especially any student who's a bachelor level student who is just going to be applying to your institution at the moment, the first thing they would have to create, and really one of the most difficult things, is they have to create their own portfolio first. That would be a requirement for the admission. So what would be your advice for a student who maybe is just starting out? So what is the thing as you that you as a recruiter would look for, and what would you advise them?
If I can answer, for us, it's quite simple, because we are asking for students who are doing the application to fulfill their resume and motivation later, and also 10 to 15 photos that they've been taken and that they find the best at the moment they do the application. And for us, it's going to be more about the variety, the diversity of their work, show all that they can do, but also they can focus on one subject of in particular on which they like the most as well.
Okay. For us at ESAB, what we will look is the originality of what will be presented by the students, meaning we don't want to see a very standard things. We just want to see different things, very personal personal things. It can be also like poetry or dance or anything, but what we want to see is who are the people we will work together for 2 years on their art.
Thank you. Dr. Tremblay?
So, well, for sure, we're going to look to the creativity and the honestly, and yeah, well, we EICAR are here to learn from the scratch. So we're not asking to have 10 movies or 10 film, or well, we are here to help them to be a real good filmmaker or film director. So we prefer to have motivated students than very diverseful and creative portfolio. So if I have to answer, just be themselves, be creative, and be honest.
I have one question to ask. When you're saying that motivated students, what do you mean by that? Does it mean that students have to be really very good in academic records, or they have to be creative as well? They have to have some kind of projects. So what is the weightage? Which one is more important for you?
We prefer motivated students, to be honest. Well, usually people are applying to filmmaking studies. They already know what they want to do, or they have some creative background for sure. So usually they have something to show, but we're not asking to be like very perfect, because otherwise they don't have the well, doesn't make sense to come to EICAR to study filmmaking if you already know how to do a film. So that's why we are actually more for motivated students than, yeah. So the motivated is very important for us. Yeah, that's why we have interview with the candidates before apply. Yeah, after applying.
So creativity, originality, and honesty, that those three really are the main takeaways that you as recruiters would be looking at.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Belloc, Mr. Decardin, and Mr. Tremblay. Thank you for being with us today. I think we have about 5-10 minutes to take any questions from the audience. There are a few questions coming in at our chat box, so I'll try and pick out a few questions that we can present to you. But before I do that, I remind our viewers that there is a Campus France booth today at the show floor, and also a welcome booth. It will be manned today until 9 p.m. So if you're looking to ask, for example, general questions about the scholarships or visa queries, or you want to know which universities might have the courses that you're looking for, please feel free to drop by over there. The officers who are currently manning the stations will be happy to help you and point you in the right direction. So I am getting quite a lot of questions about, for example, postgraduate studies, which is something that's very, very specific in France, very different from the structure in India. So regarding postgraduate studies, how and what sort of students are you looking for, really? Does your university offer this level of courses? My question is to the general panel.
We do have an MFA program, filmmaking program, so master in filmmaking. So we can accept any kind of background, any kind of bachelor for the MFA. So yeah, and still remains the motivation to apply. And at least they need a bachelor degree in any kind of studies, any field.
Yeah, for Spéos, it's quite the same of Mr. Trump said. It's we do have a European master degree, and we don't have any regards regarding the types of bachelor our students have. It can be in artistic bachelor, but also other kind of bachelor degree, and we are really focusing on the motivation of our students as well.
Regarding ESAB, we don't have postgraduate right now. We've got masters and bachelors, but there are some postgraduate studies in the arts in France, like Le Fresnoy, you might know, which is
Yes.
focused on digital technologies and movies, and for arts. And there are some others, like some programs in Paris or Lyon, or some other cities. And there are also doctoral studies in the arts in the universities, like Rennes universities or Paris universities. So you can find some ways to study with diplomas after your master. Yeah, maybe using the chat, we will be able to answer for the public higher education in the arts later.
Thank you, Mr. Belloc, Mr. Decardin, and Mr. Tremblay. I think that's it from us for now. Join us for our next webinar sharp at 4:30. Thank you and goodbye.